Hey, fellow traveler, welcome to Third Eye Awakening. This is a podcast all about spiritual and psychic awakening, where we talk about things like the shift from 3D to 5D consciousness, the nature of time, space, the universe, the multiverse, multidimensionality, starseeds, the Akashic records, all the things. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. I appreciate you so very much. All right, let's get into it. Hey, beautiful being. Welcome back to another episode of Third Eye Awakening. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm really excited to have you. Before we get started, if you want to create me, go ahead and look me up on Instagram. I'm at thenorthstar.love. And if you like what you're hearing on the show and you want more, then please join my Facebook group, Soul Space. The link is in the show notes. I would love to have you. All right, let's get into today's topic. My thoughts on being a starseed. I keep wanting to have a blog and make blog posts, but it's so much easier to just voice memo. Anyway, my thoughts on being a starseed, I guess, is that, first of all, I believe so wholly in the thing that the word starseed represents. I mean, obviously it's a human-created term, just like everything is, but maybe it was given through a channeling. I don't know. At any rate, to me, what starseed means is a human being incarnated on Earth at this time, maybe during other times too, I'm sure, but relevant to us, a human being incarnated on Earth at this time whose soul does not only do Earth lives, and for whom Earth is not like the home place of incarnating, if that makes sense. So I guess what I mean is that I believe in reincarnation. I've believed in this since I was a little kid. It just makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense that we die and that's just it. There's just nothing more to it than that. I believe that we have a consciousness that inhabits avatars in a plethora of different environments, different worlds that are at varying vibrational rates along the dimensional spectrum. And when I think about the dimensional spectrum, it's very much like the visible light spectrum. It's a frequency of vibration. So when you look at the visible light spectrum, there's a huge spectrum beyond what is visible to our eyes. Our eyes are only sensitive enough to see like from red to orange to yellow to green to blue to purple to violet, or indigo and violet. And that creates basically the whole entire light spectrum as we are able to perceive it. I'm sure there is more beyond what we can perceive with our instruments as well. Is a gigantic wave. It creates a wave pattern, a sign pattern. And the light that we can see that translates to our eyes and our brain as red has a longer, slower wavelength. So the hills are less sharp, they're more rounded, they go on for longer. And then the space, the valley in between the hills is equal to the hill, but it's also long. And as you move through the light spectrum all the way to violet, by the time you get to violet, the spaces in between the waves have gotten shorter, which makes the wave look like it goes higher. I'm doing a terrible job at explaining it. All you have to do is freaking Google the visible light spectrum and you'll be able to see, so I can stop wasting your time trying to explain it. But the dimensions of consciousness that we exist at and are the same thing. So it's just different vibrational rates. In the third dimension, the vibration slows down enough that matter can congeal and appear solid and indeed feel solid. But it's all still vibration. Everything is still vibrating in every moment. And we know that everything deteriorates. Basically, so that just means that like molecules and chemicals and atoms are not stable. They don't stay in a static arrangement for all of eternity. Eventually, the forces that hold the subatomic particles together that create atoms, that then create chemicals, that then create molecules, they shift and change because everything is vibrating all the time. And some arrangements of subatomic particles and atoms and chemicals and molecules are more stable for a longer period than others, but everything is vibrating and everything eventually changes. It's a physical environment where energy, the vibration of energy slows down quite a lot, but it's still vibrating, so it's dynamic. And as souls, we incarnate in all kinds of different environments. All kinds of different environments for the purpose of experiencing ourselves and experiencing the expression of consciousness in different ways at different levels. And it's so hard for us to conceive of anything outside of the physical environment because that's where we are. We are immersed in it. We're in our avatars. We are in this virtual reality game. And by game, I mean like it feels like a fucking high stakes game. So I don't mean to sort of minimize like life and turn it into a joke because it's not that, but it's an experience. And by game, I guess I just mean that it's not permanent. It is real because it is an experience that we are having, and it doesn't matter if physicality and form is an illusion. That's neither here nor there. It may be an illusion, but it's also real. Like, illusion only means that it's not permanent. It's not the only thing, but it is real. And so we come here for the incredible glory and visceral satisfaction of unfolding our consciousness through a physical environment and perceiving it all through our senses, receiving electrical impulses through our eyes and our ears and our sense of touch, our sense of smell and our sense of taste. And then, of course, we have all the extended senses that exist outside of our physical body. I am quite certain that we have more senses than just these 5 that are physical, because I think that, like, for example, I have always been able to sense sense a TV turning on in a different room where I can't hear it. So when I was living at my parents' house in my youth, we have a shower in our downstairs bathroom, and in the next room, like that the bathroom is off of, is a living room and has a TV, and that's where my dad often hangs out. And when I would be a teenager and having a shower, I would have the fan switched on, which was really noisy, to cut down on the humidity. And I would always know when my dad, even if I couldn't hear, I would know, like I would just feel the TV turn on. I would just know like the moment it was turned on. And then when I left the bathroom, like there it was turned on, or same when it's turned off. And I don't think that's a psychic thing. I think that's just like there's some other degree of physical sense that we have that I don't know what that falls under, if it falls under any of the other 5 senses or not. But anyway, so we have our 5 agreed upon senses that everyone agrees that we have. And then, of course, we have our extended senses, which come from just being like a consciousness, being a soul. And so we incarnate in infinite dimensions, well, infinite worlds and realms within. I don't know if the dimensions are finite or infinite. I guess it only makes sense that they'd be infinite. So that we can experience life, whatever that is. That's hard to define, isn't it? Experience our consciousness through a different set of circumstances, different sets of rules, different ways that it arranges itself and plays out. And here we get the glorious joy of tasting things and smelling things and feeling things with our physical bodies and hearing music, seeing beautiful things. And it's incredible. And we also get to experience it unfold through space and time, rather than everything all at once. And that's a huge boon and a total joy, even when it hurts. It's amazing. We take it for granted because we kind of have this silly notion that this is all there is. But it's an amazing, it's like we're on holiday from being just like non-physical. An exciting adventure. And so starseeds, God, I'm wordy, eh? Starseeds are souls, consciousness that have incarnated during this time as humans who this isn't usually where they come to incarnate. And I was explaining this to Francis a while ago, a couple weekends ago, because he'd never heard the term starseed, although he's totally a starseed, and he's way more like, his consciousness is way more highly evolved than mine. And so I was explaining it to him, and I take for granted that everybody, like, I always think I'm like a Susie come lately to the party, and that everybody already knows all this stuff. And that's what my mean inner voice says, that like, why even bother? There's so much of this out there. It's oversaturated now. Everybody's already heard of this. You can't possibly contribute anything to the discourse. So when I was talking to Francis about it, that was a nice reminder that like, oh, everybody hasn't already heard of it. And so just share what's coming through and stop making it all about you. So it was surprisingly kind of challenging to explain, because something that I remember resonating so much with me was reading Dolores Cannon's book, The 3 Waves of Volunteers. And it resonates so much, although I think it's too narrowly defined personally. But I mean, she was just sharing what she found through her hypnosis sessions, and it's incredible. But here's the thing. Sometimes I think being a starseed is portrayed as like human consciousness generally is stuck in 3D consciousness, and humans aren't as highly evolved. Like souls who come into human incarnations aren't as highly evolved. And so souls from other higher dimensions like the Pleiades and Arcturus, Lyra, the Andromeda Galaxy, Sirius, other places like that, And there are so many more, so please forgive me if you feel like I've left something important out, but have come in to help humans get out of the loop of lower consciousness. Because I feel like the truth is that it's neither here nor there if humans destroy themselves, because, I mean, it's happened before in many other times where civilizations just, seem to rise and then fall. To the two most obvious examples being Atlantis and Lemuria, although of course that's disputed. But then, you look at the ancient Egyptian civilization. I'm so ignorant about civilizations in the, I don't even want to call it the Far East. It's such an annoying, in Asia, I guess. It's better. In Asia. And I deeply apologize for my ignorance. But the different ruins at Angkor Wat and ruins in what is now Guatemala and Mexico and Chile and Peru and all over the world, there's examples of incredible feats of consciousness and high civilization that then just disappeared. They rose and they fell. So honestly, I think in a lot of ways it's neither here nor there if human civilization reaches that tipping point where we just disappear ourselves, and probably beautiful Gaia will breathe a bit of a sigh of relief, be like, oh, thank God. Now I have to absorb all this plastic and shit and break it down. But the problem is we have the technology to actually potentially render Gaia lifeless. I don't know if we could, I honestly don't know if we have the power to render her lifeless forever, because that claim feels like it's full of hubris, oh, the strength of men, the power of men. But we definitely have the technology and enough knowledge without enough emotional and conscious maturity to really, really, really cause significant changes. I mean, we already are. I was watching a documentary about the nuclear testing ground of the Russians in Kazakhstan a couple weeks ago, and I was mind blown. We can do terrible things. And that would be a problem, because if we really altered Gaia, that would have an effect on our whole galactic neighborhood, within our galaxy, within this arm of the Milky Way and beyond. Everything truly is connected. It's a beautiful cosmic web of connection. So the idea is that starseeds have come who are accustomed to incarnating at higher levels of consciousness in higher dimensions, who have come to assume human form because, also, Earth is a free will domain, which it certainly is. And so nobody from the outside can directly interfere with us. We are on our own path, and they are constantly, benevolent cosmic beings are constantly bombarding us with love and rays of light and higher consciousness, and just trying to support us to get out of this dark hole of shit we're in and raise our collective consciousness. They're constantly shining it at us, but we can't receive it unless we choose to. The same way that we can't receive manipulative, negative, damaging programming unless we choose to. That's just the way it works. So starseeds decided to come in and be born as humans and either retain their awareness or reawaken their awareness through their lifetime and return as close as they could to their natural state of vibration, which is quite high. And in doing so, help bring in more, like a higher level of consciousness. Now, the thing that makes me a little bit, I love that. And when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, that's why I came back. Because I've always known, I can't remember when I figured it out, but it was honestly in my very early 20s. I didn't have any words for it. I didn't even fully realize it. That's when I started to have an awareness that I am not usually from here, or like, I don't know how to put it. I'm not quote unquote from here. I'm not from here. I don't really know where I'm from. I feel like a blend of Pleiadian consciousness and Arcturian consciousness. But anyway, and then I had those past life memories that I think are included in my second episode of the podcast of my spiritual awakening, which my very first past life memories were off Earth memories, and that was pretty. But I didn't even really know what they were. It's been a journey. It's all a journey, right? Like, I've never had this like, moment of awakening. I have moments of awakening about certain things, but then the unfolding just continues. I kind of lost my thread of thought, but I sort of remember where I was going. So the book about the 3 waves of volunteers really resonated with me because a lot of the time I would be like, why did I come here? Why did I come here? This place is hard. It's really hard. And I have an easy life in this. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, like, I've had pain. I've had hard shit in my life, but I'm not even going to pretend that it's been as hard as it is for some beautiful, incredibly strong, courageous souls. There are people who have lives that are so hard it would crush me and make me wave a white flag, I'm sure. And yet I just felt like this all the time, like, why can't I fit in? Why doesn't this place make sense to me? Like, why do I feel like such a misfit and just like it's a general fuck up? And like, why can't this way of being be enough for me? Why can't it make sense? Like, I just knew I didn't belong here. I'm not from here. Why am I here? And when I read her book, I was like, oh, yep, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. All right, time to get to work then. But the part that I find a little bit, I guess I work on in my own understanding that I work to wrap my mind around is that I truly don't believe that there is, a linear hierarchy of consciousness in the universe. I do believe that we are all on a path of ascension, just meaning that, like, in a way, I guess it is linear, but I don't think it's that black and white. I think that polarity in our way of understanding it is really influenced by the fact that we're human and we live in an environment where polarity exists. So like there's one end of the spectrum and the other, like the visible light spectrum. And you know, there's a linear unfolding of things. I mean, that's how our time unfolds. Like we don't move backwards through time. We move forwards through time. But yeah, so I think our ideas of like hierarchy of ascension are very much influenced by our humanness. At least they are for me. And I just try to remind myself of that all the time, that like anytime we're trying to conceive of anything, it is going to be influenced by our current human incarnation and our human psyche, because we are, you know, translating everything through our brain. And it's a human brain. It's a human nervous system. So I don't believe that there is a linear hierarchy of ascension. I do believe we're all on an unfolding ascension journey, but I just don't think it's as linear and hierarchical as sometimes can be inferred. So, and I certainly do not believe that the souls that incarnate into human lives are like baby souls of like low consciousness. Oh my God, I don't believe that at all. This place is fucking hard. It's a hard place to be. And Francis was asking me, he was like, so do some souls, like, are they earth only souls? And I was like, oh, you know, I really can't say, but that doesn't feel true. That doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel true to me that when a consciousness first emerges from the all, that it goes straight into a human body. Like that's horrible. Isn't that the worst thought? I feel like this is an advanced fucking PhD level program here. This is like, you know, I think actually we kind of hang around in higher dimensions that are closer to source. You know what? Wow. There's just a little wave of clarity coming through. We emerge from source, which is like high dimension. And of course it is like all encompasses the all. So the lowest vibration is part of all and the highest vibration is part of all. And of course it's all an infinity loop or a circle. And so there is no beginning and end. It just is. But as a new consciousness emerges from the all and like, you know, is it doesn't separate, but it kind of like bloops off, kind of to go on a journey to like shine out like sun rays. What I'm getting right now is that its first emergences are super high vibration, because it's almost like if you imagine a sun and like sun rays, it's like we're coming off of the light that is all. And first we go through the closest, like we're an offshoot, we're a ray of the sun. But the journey extends from the root of the ray farther and farther away from the center source, out to the tip of the ray, and then it comes back to the source. But it's like got a new level of it's just changed by the journey. I don't know if that makes any sense. It makes sense to me. I'm probably doing a terrible job of explaining it. Anyway, so, I mean, I don't think Earth is the darkest, coarsest place either, but I think it's pretty, yeah, it's a pretty intense place to be. That's all I know. It's an intense place to be. And so our consciousness comes actually down through the dimensions, the frequency of consciousness, down into earth after much experience at higher frequencies, and then bounces back up. But what it feels like is that earth is kind of a catching place because of the karmic wheel. So I really don't believe, like, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't believe that there are earth souls that are just like dumb souls that don't know anything and that we are the saviors. That I don't jive with that at all. And I think it can be a very problematic way of viewing things. But anyway, what comes through to me is that earth is a place where souls can get stuck in a back eddy of karma. Meaning that because it's like 3-dimensional, but there are lower dimensional influences on earth. I did another channeling on demon consciousness, which maybe I'll share. But suffice it to say that there are forces of manipulation that reach out to affect the human mind and keep us in the lowest, densest level of vibration that we can be in. And so it's almost like a magnet that pulls us like into making choices and committing actions in a lifetime that then, in order to truly liberate ourselves from it, we have to experience the balance. And that's what karma is. Karma isn't a punishment. It's that a situation has to balance itself out in order for resolution to happen and release from the situation. Like the magnet, like it has to have both sides. Because it's a dimension of polarity, and the second dimension is definitely a dimension of polarity, and that's really that's why 3D is so dense and whatever, and that's what those lower dimensional consciousnesses are. That's how they're manipulating human minds, is to keep us in a place of polarity, in lower second dimensional polarity. And so the souls, as they go through their journey of emanating from the great central sun of all consciousness, shining out as a ray, when they get to earth, it's very common to get stuck. We get stuck on this karmic wheel of somebody did something to me and it feels so real. Like I'm so deeply identified with this avatar. I'm so deeply identified with this avatar. And I can't let it go. And I can't find the frequency of forgiveness and release. And I must have revenge. And my soul has been there as well. I remember a lifetime where there's somebody in my life who I'm very close with, who we have a really great relationship, but sometimes it's one of the most challenging relationships in my life. And I looked into my past life with this other soul to understand where it came from. And in this other life, I perceived that this person I was just minding my own business and working hard at something that I was so proud of. It was my life's work. I was like a weird Tesla kind of like fringy weirdo scientist. I wasn't Tesla though. But I was, that sort of personality type. And I had a life's work. I was so dedicated and devoted. And this person was sort of a colleague and a bit of a competitor, a bit of a confidant, not a close friend, but a friendly acquaintance. And I wasn't bringing it was like an invention or a discovery or something. I wasn't bringing it out to the world yet. I didn't feel like it was ready. It wasn't ready. And this other person felt that like I was wasting an opportunity and that it should be shared and profited from, and just felt like this was sort of the attitude of the time and the circumstances that we were in. Felt like, well, if you're going to squander it, then I'm not going to. And I don't know if I had a patent for it, or I don't know. But anyway, this person basically took my idea that they had some license over as well, but I had, really devoted myself to it, and to a degree that they had not. And he took my idea and brought it out into the world, and it was kind of, I can't remember what happened. I don't think he got rich. I think he just, maybe it wasn't accepted or it was ridiculed or something. I'm not sure what it was, and I don't remember what my idea was. But I was the rage that I can remember even now as I talk about it, like there aren't words for it. The rage. And I believe I killed him. I have memories of being so full of rage that I grabbed a rock, like a big boulder, and smashed in his face and caved in his head. I was so angry that it was kind of like all of my life's work was ruined. And I mean, in that lifetime, I was taking myself way too seriously and feeling very ego identified. But anyway, that's the kind of thing that I mean, where you when as souls, when we pass through earth, those things feel so real. We forget who we are. And those things feel like we forget that this is a VR game. It's not the only place. Like, yes, maybe it incites emotions and they are real, but it doesn't matter. There are multiple timelines, multiple different outcomes. It's okay. We can't remember that anymore. We get so convinced by the power of this dimension. We forget that it is an illusion, meaning it's not the be-all and end-all. And then, of course, I have to find balance for that. And I don't know if that really happened. I mean, there aren't memories, like it wasn't my imagination creating it, but it is my human psyche translating information that I'm receiving. I don't know if I actually killed that person in that life. I don't know what became of me. It takes a lot of time to go into those past lives, and I feel like that was all I needed to see to understand the sort of like weird little subtle undercurrent of rivalry that exists in this relationship dynamic in this lifetime with a person who I truly love. So we get caught in this back eddy on the karmic wheel of being so identified with our human avatars, and when we commit acts that necessitate balance in order to be released from them onto the next thing, up to the next available dimension of consciousness. And when we die, we immediately remember who we are, come out of the dream. It's like waking up from a dream and being like, oh, holy shit, that was just a dream. That was just a dream. And then, we kind of recover a little bit, and we know we got to go back in, and we got to like find the balance so we can keep going. And we're all from the spirit side or the soul side, we're like, oh, I got this. I can do it. No, I'm going to remember this time. Like, I can do it. It's not a big deal. Forgiveness, find forgiveness, take the higher road. It's fine. I can do it. Like, the instructions are simple. And then we're born. And once we're back into a human context again, it's like, when you wake up from a dream and it was a particularly emotionally affecting dream, and you carry it with you all day, and even if you start to lose the actual memory of whatever it was in the dream that like messed you up so much, you still just feel emotionally off all day. It's just with you and bugging you all day. It's like that. We come back into these lives, and we, eventually, like around the age of 3, we forget who we were for survival reasons, and because it's just a convincing VR. It's a convincing VR. And all of our good intentions, like we just can't remember them anymore, but we're still carrying around this weird emotional residue that we can't quite put our finger on, and we don't necessarily feel it all the time, but it sometimes gets triggered by things. It gets triggered by actual karmic relationships, like this one for me with this. It's the energy of this individual soul incarnated as a human that triggers that feeling of like low-grade rivalry in me. Or sometimes it gets triggered by an event that is trying to bring it to our awareness so that we can play it out again and choose differently this time. But we can't remember. And that's part of the beauty of the human environment, of Earth as a place to incarnate and human as a vehicle, is that we can't remember. No, that's not true. It's not that we can't remember. We are under the influence of manipulations that significantly reduce our ability to remember. And then when we do remember, it makes us feel crazy. And if we tell other people are so, this is a whole tangent. I can't even talk about this, but we have been fucked with badly. And we very seriously fear our intuition and our power. And that's why people will say that it's like, influence from the devil if you have intuition, or if you have memories that don't come from this life, or you think you remember who you are. Like, you can't share that shit. Now we can, but it's still tricky, and it doesn't feel as safe as it is becoming. So we get into these lives, and the illusion is very, very, very powerful and gripping and compelling. It's like you can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. It feels so real. It is real. And the body we're born into, this is me. This is my body. I am all these things that I'm experiencing. So real. And we forget. And when we're triggered so that we can choose differently, like we're triggered on purpose by ourselves have set up these scenarios so that we have these triggers, so that we can live it out in a different way and choose differently and move through it and past it and release it and move on to the next thing. But because we can't remember, and we're not supported in our remembering, not in this culture anyway, that we often don't choose differently. We still sort of like shoot from the hip, and we're very reactionary, and our lower vibrational emotions take over, and they're so, oh God, they feel so good. Doesn't our self-righteous like victim consciousness feel good in a weird, fucked up, perverse way? You better believe it does. And we just want to juice it and nurse it. So starseeds, starseeds we're not better than the souls that are humans, not at all. It's just that it's like we already made our way through the earth eddy. We got out somehow, because everybody eventually does. So we're not better than anybody, and we're not more highly evolved. We're just on a different point in the journey. And it's like we can hear, then we reunite with our, soul brothers and sisters when their human avatar dies, and we hear how tired they are of having to repeat the same damn things because they just can't remember it. But they can't receive what we're sending to them from the spirit side if they don't believe it, if they don't allow it and accept it. And we've been so programmed out of our intuition that it's very hard to receive it anymore. So starseeds are beings who either have never been to Earth, or have been to Earth a few times, or have somehow not gotten trapped in the eddy of Earth and the human karmic cycle, and have decided to come to Earth en masse at this time and experience a really a large collective awakening, like that field of wildflowers, that huge infinite field of wildflowers, while on Earth, so that we retain or regain access to our memories of who we are, so that we can choose differently. And as we who have been allowed to retain our memories, that's really what it is. We're just allowed, like the cap that usually keeps us from remembering has been removed or weakened or something. As we who have been allowed to retain and regain our memories, as we choose differently and as we vibrate higher in accordance to the truth of who we really are, we anchor in that light. And what do I mean by anchoring the light? I mean our physical bodies are anchors. We just are anchors by default. We don't have to do anything. We can be more conscious about it if we want. That's kind of the whole point. But even if we're at the very beginning of our awakening journey and we're not super conscious yet and we don't have great control over it, we are anchors for the light. The light of higher consciousness streams through our chakras and into our human bodies, and we embody it in physical form on the planet. And in doing so, it's like we can receive all of the benevolence that is being shone at us at all times with greater ease. And we're not perfect. Starseeds are not perfect, and there's no pressure to be perfect. And we're not better than the souls who are, just keep bumping up against the wall of not being able to remember. But we have openings in our consciousness that allow all of the goodwill and the love and the grace and the truth and benevolence that comes from the higher dimensions of consciousness. We can receive it. It has somewhere to come in. There's a resonance that allows it to come in. And then as it travels down and disseminates through all of our energy portals, our chakras, and all the way through our meridians, and then into all of our cells and our molecules and chemicals and atoms. And then we interact with our environment, and we eat food, and we drink water, and then we pee and poo it out, and we breathe in, we breathe out. Then the light disseminates through our bodies into the physical constituents of planet Earth, and we also allow more, I don't know, it really is like just like turning on, like it's like lighting a bunch of candles in a pitch black room. It just helps everybody who is really, really stuck in that earth eddy to have a chance at remembering. And they can choose it or not. They don't have to. Some people are really close to the lowest part of the 3D consciousness, really, really deeply in the manipulative bondage of lower forms of consciousness that it just by nature wants to suck you down. I don't even believe it's malicious. It's just the nature of it. Anyway, those people may not want to awaken, and it may, the light might feel like to them, and that's fine. That's their choice. This is a free will realm, and eventually everything returns to the light because there's no other option. But yeah, so my thoughts on being a starseed is that we're not better than anyone else, and it's so important to say that. It feels important to me anyway. We're not better than anyone else, and we are here on a rescue mission of sorts, but it's really not like we are the saviors. It's just not like that. It's really important to understand that, because the term savior has been used it's been really, that concept has been used to justify terrible ego-based, fear-based things in this world, and that's not what it's about. And we're also not perfect. I certainly am not perfect. I'm definitely on a journey. It's a constant, continuous, unending journey of unfolding, and I oscillate back and forth between my ego consciousness and my higher consciousness all the time. And yet I am perfect because there's nothing I need to do to be better or more worthy. So perfect in that sense, but not perfect in the sense of I have all the answers and I know everything and I always act out of my highest awareness, and I never have human moments and I don't ever have difficult emotions, and that's not it at all. That's not the point of being a human. And I don't want anyone who, not that I have any say over it or control over it, but I guess it's coming through me to say, so I'm just going to say it anyways, or whatever it's worth. I don't want anyone who knows that they are a starseed to feel pressure to be or do anything. It's like the podcast episode about living your purpose. It's literally just inherent to you, and you just be it with joy, and the role that will be the best expression of it will avail itself to you, and you don't have to justify your being here by living your purpose. Your purpose is being here. That's it. That's all. Being your unique energy signature, the beautiful note that you are in the symphony of universal consciousness. You're so important. And starseeds don't need to be perfect. They don't need to not be human. They don't need to not, it's okay to struggle. It's okay to find it really hard to be here. It's okay to feel like you never have the answers. It's okay to feel like as soon as you think you have an answer, you get 2 weeks of peace, and then you realize that you don't have the answers at all. It's okay to feel like you don't understand how to do money. You don't understand how to do food. You don't understand how to do TV and Netflix and You don't understand how to do jobs. You don't understand how to do small talk. It's okay. And it's okay to let yourself be human. It's okay to be on a journey where you really let your human take over. You won't get lost here. I don't know why I can say that with such certainty, but it just came through. Like, we're not going to get lost here. Like, our soul kin who are on the karmic wheel, you won't get lost here. That it's like it was a promise made for everybody who chose to come in as a starseed. Like, there are forces looking out for us, no matter how scary and hard and dark our lives may feel. There are forces that are, it's like, I don't know, it's like it's like there's a lifeline. Like, somebody has it's like if you're mountain climbing or you're exploring something or something, like, you have your safety tethers on. You're not going to get lost. You're going to remember, and you're going to, at the end of this life, you are going to return, and you don't have to come back here again if you don't want. You won't amass any karma that keeps you stuck here. Even if you're not perfect, you just don't have to fear that. And it's enough for you to just be here. You're doing what you came to do just by being here. Thanks for being here. By the way, thanks to everybody who entered the contest to help me grow my podcast. And the draw was done for the 3 free 60-minute Akashic record readings, and the winners have been notified. I appreciate everybody so much. Thank you for participating. Next episode is gonna be it. It's gonna be the story of Killian's death. And then that will lead into the spiritual awakening following that experience. Anyway, I hope that you all have a great week. Peace, my friends.